So shout out to Cheer Denise. You guys make sure you check her out. I can get one of the mods to drop her YouTube channel link in the chat. That would be fantastic. And show her some love and support. But we're gonna get to this video. I want to check it out. I got the first 4 or 5 minutes in, and I think there's some information S-Files told me to hear at the 3-minute timestamp. So we're gonna listen out for that. Put a 1 in the chat if you can see it here. Let's get to it.
She eventually lost this lawsuit, but not before she stayed for 6 months without paying rent and was eventually evicted. And for a person who says that the apartment they're living in is killing them, it's wild you would stay there anyway when you have enough money to pay for an apartment at $3,500 a month. Yet you would continue to stay in a place that's killing you while you wait out this lawsuit that's going on.
Right.
Well, she loses because police had said there are certain requirements to staying here. One of those things is as soon as there's a problem, you need to let us know so we can fix it. She'd failed to do that and then was angry that there was a problem that she'd never asked for help to fix.
Right.
But when we look at who she's been over the years, it just surprises me that people are willing to settle in on the fact that she's a truth teller. I'm confused as to when that happened. There's 3 major incidents I want to talk about in her life. When she was a senior in high school in 2007, there was a group of 4 white males, one of whom was one of her good friends, who decided to leave her a series of egregious voicemails. Now, nobody has ever seen the text from these. There's never been a transcript that's been publicly available. But in the sealed documents of this case, it was said that these voicemails were filled with racial epithets, that they were death threats, and those authorities at school who heard these voicemails said they were terrible. So I can't read them to you verbatim, but that allegedly is what happened. So
I don't know why it took Let me refresh this right quick. I don't know why this is skipping.
She eventually lost this lawsuit, but not before she stayed for 6.
Okay, let's get back to
who decided to leave her a series of egregious voicemails. Now, nobody has ever seen the text from these. There's never been a transcript that's been publicly available. But in the sealed documents of this case, it was said that these voicemails were filled with racial epithets, that they were death threats, and those authorities at school who heard these voicemails said they were terrible. So I can't read them to you verbatim, but that allegedly is what happened. So it took the school 6 months to finally call these boys to account. And in that time, she was so traumatized by what had happened that she was homeschooled for 6 weeks because it was too scary for her to go to school with people who would leave death threats on her phone filled with racial slurs. It was particularly offensive to her because one of her good friends had been involved. So to have a former friend involved in the worst trauma of your life, she felt that she could not face going to school. So she went home. She and her grandfather then decide that they're going to sue the school board for taking so long to deal with this. And their assumption was that it took so long because one of the white boys, they're all white, one of the white guys who aimed his ire at her was the son of the mayor, and that there were power plays involved here, and so he was going to get off scot-free because of who his dad was. She and her grandfather, together with the NAACP, sued the school board and won $37,500. So as a young, impressionable person, to find that you can sue people and receive damages for your trauma and for what you went through, it was, I think, very formative to the way she handles conflict now. Interestingly, in one of the articles I read from the Time, because this was big news in her town when this happened, there's a very curious line that says, Candace Owens was arrested in October of 2007 for a separate harassment issue. But all of the documents about this case have been sealed because they involved minors. And when I went to find another source that would let me know about when she was arrested.
What? She was arrested
when this happened. There's a very curious line that says, Candace Owens was arrested in October of 2007 for a separate harassment issue. But all of the documents about this case have been sealed because they involved minors. And when I went to find another source that would let me know about when she was arrested.
Wait a minute, was she the primary aggressor? Are you kidding me? Ooh. S-Files, thank you so much for sending me this link. We thank you so much. Was she the primary aggressor, Candace? Now we see why you throw these infamous tantrums, girl. Like I said, ain't nobody perfect, honey. But goodness gracious. What is the deal, Candace? Arrested for harassment and you were a minor? You were a minor? Weren't you supposed to be in school? You can't make this up. I gotta go back and hear that again. And that is correct. If it involves minors, you know, it could be sealed or at the very least redacted. But I don't. Was she one of the defendants? How did
that says
She was
Candace
defending.
Owens was arrested in October of 2007 for a separate harassment issue. But all of the documents about this case have been sealed because they involved minors. And when I went to find another source that would let me know about when she was arrested, I never was able to find it. I was never able to find any documentation that she was actually arrested for a separate harassment issue. But she and this classmate were seen in this huge screaming match that predated the hateful, hideous voicemails.
Wow.
Now, I don't care how difficult Candace may have been in high school. You don't call somebody and threaten death and racial slurs. So if that's really what she...
Candace, did you hear Cheer? Cheer said you don't call and make death threats and racial slurs. Why haven't you denounced the actions of Nicholas Ray, who's facing 12 counts for sending death threats, online death threats, to Jewish conservatives because of you? When are you going to denounce that, Candace? This is, if you're out here getting in trouble and getting arrested for harassment, Diane said, the cousin said to Candace, I gotta watch that interview. The cousin did an interview with another content creator. I'm gonna have to watch that. Candace, if you out here getting in fights and starting stuff, because you guys can tell she's very confrontational. You see how she was with the CNN interview? The reporter asking her basic questions, she was keeping her calm. She was real, it's kind of like that Erica Kirk effect. It's very calming, very somber. She was almost like whispering, talking very mellow and showing Candace how it's done. This is how you do an interview and ask questions here. You don't have to accuse anyone, but she's just keeping down the tone of it. And then all Candace is being is combative and aggressive and defensive and condescending and vindictive and petty and childish and immature. I can keep going. But that's how Candace was acting in the interview with CNN. I can imagine if the reporter would have raised her voice, her volume just 1/8 higher, it probably would have started some sort of verbal back and forth, because Candace does not know how to maintain composure. She doesn't have any tact. She doesn't use wisdom. She doesn't watch what she says. It's like whatever comes up comes out. And I'm like that, but I have to still understand, if I'm going to do journalism, there's a certain way to which it's done. I have to sometimes reel it in myself, especially when I see something that's just offensive, or I'm listening to someone or watching someone break the law or mistreat a child or an elderly person, or just be rude and nasty for no reason. And if the reporter, the CNN reporter, I think her name is L, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Her name is L or Ellie. It starts with an E. But if she had not maintained her composure, can you imagine what that CNN interview would have been like? And even when Candace was just over talking her and still saying nothing, because Candace, let me tell you something, Heffel. You said nothing of substance. You lied, if nothing else. And you continued to throw out baseless allegations. And what you did do was settle on yourself, because having leaks in the FBI is illegal. Yeah, no. You don't command leaks and attention from the FBI. And you would think they would be smart enough to become whistleblowers as well. But why would they tell you information when you can't even produce the documentation to support any of the nonsense you're putting out? But then you get mad because someone clowned you out for forging text messages that were fake in your iPhone. And they went through the steps, pulling up the information on how exactly you did it. So all they had to do was ask you to show you some texts in your phone that are still fake. By the way, the texts are still fake. It is not authenticated simply because she's willing to hold up a phone. We didn't see not one date or timestamp, girl. So that does not authenticate these messages at all. And because you don't understand the definition of the word evidence or authenticate, Candace, that point goes over your head. But I can imagine her being confrontational, even worse at what, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old? Oh, yeah, the text, the fake. Yep. L, is it L? Autocorrect. So, oh, okay. I saw Ellen. I have to run up to the store. Oh, you good? You good? You're good. Shout out to my mods. I appreciate you, S Files. Thank you so much. All of the mods and supporters in here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Yeah, she did. She did. They did prove that the text was fake. It gave an outline, and they used Chat GPT, and they pulled. What they did is pull some of the fundamental facts based on how the iPhones were created to do certain functions with the phone, text messages. I believe there's some software you can use now to generate fake text because we have real scammers out here that do the same thing. And then if Candace wanted to prove that the texts were legitimate, why didn't she just plug in her phone and share her screen on her phone just like she does with a video or anything else? Holding it up far away from the camera as if people can see that proved nothing. There was still 0 date and time stamps. It's as basic as that. No date or time stamps. That's it. Whether you have Chat GPT or not, or the manufacturing details of how iPhones are designed and programmed to do certain things, certain functions you should look for, start with the fact that there were no date or time stamps in those texts. And then go from there. Because they all have it. That's bottom line. So this is where we are. She thinks she's doing something called journalism, and she's not. Candace, you're bad at this. And people are calling her out on it. People are starting to see her pattern of behavior here. So if she's this volatile, imagine what she's going to be like when those hearings start with the Macron lawsuit. Candace, please go in there and lose your mind one time. I would love for that to happen, so the judge can hold you behind
suffered,
contempt.
And it being from a former friend, that would be super traumatic, especially as a high school student. You don't have any concept on how to deal with this, so I am in no ways belittling what she experienced. I'm just saying, it seemed like high drama in high school. And then to have your grandfather and NAACP take your side and then win $37,000, that probably felt really good, to go after the bullies and to actually win and to feel like people were on your side. So I really feel like this informed the way she dealt with conflict after that.
Yeah.
Fast forward several years, she's had a couple of jobs in New York City. She dropped out of college for some funding issues, but she goes to New York. She's a intern at Vogue for a short amount of time, and then she's working at a private equity company and works her way up to be vice president of something over there. Then she stops doing that so she can start.
No evidence to prove that she re-enrolled and completed 2 degrees, by the way. Just want to point that out. Candace, no evidence to prove that you re-enrolled. And I'm going to be calling URI this week. University of Rhode Island. I've sent them 3 emails. 3 emails. They only responded back to me once. I'm going to be calling them just to verify if they issued you a degree, because they slowballing it. Candace, you calling the school telling them not to give me the information does not help you, girl.
This website called 180, and she is basically going after the conservative movement in her blog. These aren't hard-hitting articles. They're things like, how big do you think Trump's male appendage actually is? We think it's probably pretty small. And, you know, going after the Tea Party, et cetera, calling them batshit crazy. You know, so not hard-hitting journalism by any means. But that's what she was doing for a time. And then from that, she decided to do this spin-off called Social Autopsy. And through crowdfunding, she was going to develop this service where you could screenshot anytime somebody bullied you, and they would go into this database. And then if you wanted to find somebody who was a bully, you could see if they had a profile on Social Autopsy where you could identify bullies, and where ostensibly employers could decide whether people were troublemakers or not. That was immediately descended upon as a horrific idea by both the right and the left. All political spheres saw this as problematic, because we don't really need this big brother movement where you are collecting data on people so that they can then pay socially for what they said. People shouldn't be treating others terribly, but unfortunately, if you also want to have the right for free speech, you can't then have a platform that seeks to prosecute those for free speech. And also there was a doxing issue. So now that we've identified who these people...
Yeah, let's just stick to the doxing issue because that is a cybercrime. That is a form of cyber harassment and is designed to embarrass someone, to silence your critics and all this other stuff. And Candace Owens is still doing that to this very day. It's almost like she's just out promoting people to be cyber doxed or to be doxed. Candace, just like you pulling up a photo of a kid at UVU because he was wearing a green hoodie. Not the entire internet ascends upon this young man for no reason. Because you're an idiot, Candace. You would not want anyone to do that to your children if they were in college. You're not even thinking like a parent. You know, because you're bad at this, girl.
And where they work and everything, now anyone can just go and attack these people? It seemed like a terrible plan. Candace Owens is approached by someone from the progressive left, and they say, I really think you shouldn't do this. This seems like a really bad idea, and asks her to reconsider the entire project. Candace Owens is like, this is a great idea, and I don't care for your opinion on it. Shortly after, Candace Owens' personal information and the information of her friends is released to the public, and she is doxxed, and she has all these people showing up at her house, and they have her phone number and her address, etc., etc. They know where she works. She feels that her life is in grave danger. So the very website that she came up with to do that very thing to people was now being done to her. But she, through very shoddy means, decided that the person responsible for releasing her information was the progressive who had come to her and said, hey, I think it would be great if you didn't do this. That flipped her into a conservative. And so after that incident, she wanted nothing to do with the left or Democrats or anything like that. And
okay, so she tried to become a conservative because of retaliation, Candace. So it was disingenuous to start. Shout out to Cheer for this video, because that's the premise of it. Look at God, won't he do it? The premise of this live stream. Candace, you only became a conservative because you felt that someone that was a Democrat, because somehow politics rules your life, doxed you, and you had no legitimate proof to even back that up. So it's only out of being vindictive and retaliatory. You thought you were hurting that person's feelings by becoming a conservative, girl. Candace, you didn't hurt her feelings with that. If nothing else, you've shown us more of who you are. Can I get an amen? You've shown us more of who you are, Candace. You're willing to just run to one side or the other because somebody pissed you off, because you made an assumption of something with no evidence, and because you reap what you sow. That's not a left or right principle. That's called God operating the way he's been doing for ever since the beginning of mankind. That's a spiritual issue, and it's a matter of karma. At the end of the day, you reap what you sow. That has nothing to do with left or right. So perhaps you doxing people and cyber harassing people and sending the candy asses after people, because reasons. Look how she's obliterated or tried to obliterate Phil Lyman. I use him as an example all the time because she didn't just go after Phil Lyman. She tried to find this man's mother. And if you all know, I think Phil Lyman is well over 50 years old. Can you imagine how old his mother is? Like, she wants to deal with that type of harassment. Went after his nephew, cousin, his other relative. This man eliminated 2 out of 3 of his social media platforms because of the harassment. You've got kids at school scared, feeling like they have to respond to your dumb behind because you posted up a photo because he was wearing a green hoodie and called that suspicious. This is the level of damage you're willing to do, Candace. And you get mad and you become a conservative because you thought and assumed someone doxed you that was a Democrat. Do you all see how simple-minded Candace is thinking? Like, her thought process is so simple-minded. It's like airheadish. This is why I call you an airhead, Candace. You're an airhead. There's nothing smart or intelligent about her. Candace does nothing more than just gossips in her videos, post up videos and articles to try to bend and manipulate the information to fit her moot point. Moot point. Moot, Candace, is a word you're going to become familiar with when you start going to these court hearings. Moot. And then she tries to manipulate and gaslight everybody. That's it. No research, no background information, no nothing. Nothing of substance. And all because she assumed someone doxed her. Wow. Oh,
and
man, you
she
can't make this
plugged
up.
hardcore into the idea of being a conservative. And the conservatives, who had very few black people to speak boldly for the conservative viewpoint, were only too happy to bring her along. They really wanted somebody young, somebody capable of reaching a younger demographic. And so Candace Owens was the belle of the conservative ball. She learned all the lines, she could say all the things, and she was really, really unafraid to say things that were feather ruffling. She liked to ruffle people's feathers. It made her feel powerful to evoke an emotional response from people, so she did it consistently. And she found that the right celebrated her. Donald Trump said she was great. Kanye West said he liked the way she thought. So to get somebody like Kanye West to approve of her was like the greatest dopamine hit she could.
Yeah, Kanye West is also someone who said he was a non-reader of books. I don't know if anybody recalled that. He said that in an interview that he was a non-reader of books, and he's proud of that. I don't know if anybody recalls it. It became a quote. I remember seeing it in one of the news reportings and the interview he did, where he proclaimed to be a non-reader of books. Just say you don't read, Kanye. You try to be eloquent with it. I'm a non-reader of books. So you're dumb. Got it. If you want people to know facts and history and information, or if you want people to not know that, the best way to do it is to put in a book. You want people to remain ignorant. The best way to keep them ignorant is to put the information in the book. Yeah, and then you get someone like Kanye West that says he's a non-reader of books. You can't make this up. And somehow he likes how Candace Owens thinks. And he's a non-reader of books. That's not a compliment. That should be a moment of reflection. Oh, Lord, somebody who's a non-reader of books just said they like the way I think. Oh, Jesus. It should be like, you know what? Kanye, I'm going to read some books tonight. You want to join my book club? Candace's not even reading books that's actually informative of anything. She read books in her alleged book club that does nothing more than create more conspiracy theories, because somehow now she doesn't believe that dinosaurs existed on Earth. You can't make this up.
Ever receive. So she was going to press into whatever it was that made her feel really good about herself. So we have a person who has a pretty dramatic high school experience. Then we get somebody who will flip on her political beliefs pretty inexplicably, because it is evident that she can get farther with another political narrative. And then for my last story that just makes me feel like this is not a person to trust. In 2019, this is when she's moved on to TPUSA. She is living in Sanford, Connecticut still. She is making plenty of money for herself, and she lives in a high-rise luxury apartment. This rent is $3,500 a month. And she decides that it's a dangerous place to live because there's a black mold problem. And the way to solve your problems is to sue people. This is one of multiple lawsuits she's had throughout her adult life. And maybe in another episode, we'll chronicle all of the lawsuits, although probably not. I'm not that interested. But one of them that really stood out to me was a lawsuit that she...
I've done like 4 of them. I mean, it's okay, Cheer. It's okay. You can watch my videos. It's there. I went over the one with USA Today, the one about the apartment complex, the one where with Kimberly Klasick, and of course the appellate court documents with the High Court of Australia. I didn't know that there was something going on with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Is that right? Did she sue them, or they sued her? How's that going? I had no idea there was a lawsuit with, or is it involving her or something like that? Child, Candace doesn't pay my bills, girl. Limitless. I don't know if you're a boy, girl, whatever you are. Candace runs nothing over here. She has no power. We laugh at you candy asses, by the way. We're still waiting on you all to read. Does is she in the? How does Candace Owens have anything to do with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry? By the, I'm just trying to figure out. You so tell me how I could get paid too. I don't know. I'm waiting on the Israeli Prime Minister to send me a check. Apparently, he owes me a lot of money, according to all of Candace's followers. Who knows? Chapel. She can send me. She can send me. He can send me a check. I will cash that bad boy and spend it, and still get on here and say what I want to say. Chabu. Tell Candace I said, I know she's watching. She's still a heifer. How does that go? I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the Prince Harry and Meghan Markle thing. Anyone know? Are we talking about Candace Owens? Oh yeah, we are. Thomas, we getting there. Oh yeah. Candace knows all about being paid to lie. Exactly. And she would be the expert in that. Candace would be the expert in being paid to lie, because that's all she's doing now. Oh, it's okay, Limitless. You want to support Candace? That's all you talk about. She spits fact. Tell Candace to define the word fact. We'll wait. Candace is not a co-founder of Turning Point USA. She wasn't. She was hired. Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. Candace Owens is not a founder of Turning Point USA. She was hired by Charlie Kirk. It's in a whole video. He said, when I hired her. She's not a co-founder at all. For her to say I'm a Mason of Turning Point, you can say I'm one of the earlier employees, but she didn't co-found anything. Who started that? I wish they would not co-sign off on things like that either. Yes, they do. Liars get you just like cult leaders. You know how many followers Jim Jones had? You should read some history. Yes, they do. Pick a liar, pick a cult leader, and then you'll find a liar. There you go. You can't make this up. So no, Candace Owens did not co-found Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk hired her. For her to sit and be, in her mind, she thinks she's number one on earth. And that can be debunked literally with evidence. She's not. So no, she only worked there 2 years. Laughable. Despite the fact he hired her. She and Kirk is the only reason Turning Point blew up. It's laughable. No one needed her to do anything. I played a video of her. Shot, please. You could have gotten a small child to say the same things that Candace Owens said, and Turning Point would have blown up. You don't even need Candace Owens to say that stuff. Boo. Yeah, she calls herself the Mason of Turning Point USA. No, she was hired. She was an employee. Just like her husband was a chairman of Turning Point UK. Candace, are you going to continue to sit here and to paint this dumb fairy tale story that, you just so happen to listen to something in your head and you use Charlie Kirk's credit card to buy some tickets to go out there to where you met someone and married him within 18 days and y'all had no history? But he was the chairman of Turning Point UK. She only worked there 2 years. Those are facts. He hired her. That is a fact. That can be researched. It's just that simple. You can't make this up. So whatever Candace thinks she has built up, thank you, Susan, she's trying to destroy it. You don't sit here and say you're the Mason of something that you only hired to work it for 2 years, and then try to turn around and destroy it after showing how narcissistic you are, Candace, and how obsessed you are by saying you've been keeping up with all of the events scheduled ever since you left, or was she fired? Well, she was either fired or left Turning Point. You only worked there 2 years, Candace. You're no more important than any other employee that's worked there longer than you. Some of these employees have worked there longer than Candace Owens. And she's trying to overshadow their shine there. You get people who've worked there for the last 3, 4, 5 good years. That's crazy how she thinks her 2 years, 18 months, there you go. Her 18 months of employment there is supposed to overshadow someone who worked there 3 years or 4 years plus. No, ma'am, girl. She got a pattern of being fired. I know, right? You can't make this up. He hired her. He hired her. She didn't co-find anything. And now we discovering she started fights and she's been charged with some harassment when she was a teenager. While she was still a minor, she was arrested for harassment. Oh my God. Candace, you want to sit here and talk about you want to talk about how you tell the truth on things? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all waiting for you to prove that you got 2 degrees. Perhaps Limitless can share with me the documentation and evidence to prove that you have 2 degrees. Because Limitless, I don't know if you know this, Candace Owens has lied about having 2 degrees. Do you mind sharing with us the actual evidence or documentation to prove that she has 2 degrees? Because she lied about that. I mean, she flat out lied, like she was breathing air. I have a video on my channel. You're welcome.
Had against the high-rise building that she lived in. She said that she had black mold poisoning, that it was causing her emotional and mental and physical decay, that she was dealing with symptoms of black mold that in her estimation were going to be lifelong chronic problems. Those problems included inability to think clearly.
What?
She also listed eczema as a problem, systemic yeast infections. She had a litany of things that were caused by the black mold. She said she'd had to get laser treatments for scars on her body because of the sores that the black mold were causing. And she submitted this picture to court as proof of...
Who gets LASIK surgery as a form of treatment, Candace? Girl, you are a brat. The $37,500 that you won from your lawsuit somehow, what did you do with that money? Candace, what did you do with that money? Because it sounds like it went really quick in rent. Why would you get an apartment for $3,500 a month? You couldn't afford it. Face it, you couldn't afford it. You went 6 months without paying rent. And then they turned around and ordered her to pay $19,000 almost in the total judgment. Candace, you look effed up right here, girl. No one told you to live in there with black mold. You're weird.
The black mold. Never submitted anything from a doctor or anybody who could say, yes, these symptoms that you're suffering are because of the black mold. She eventually lost this lawsuit, but not before she stayed for 6 months without paying rent and was eventually evicted.
Yep.
And for a person who says that the apartment they're living in is killing them, it's wild you would stay there anyway when you have enough money to pay for an apartment at $3,500 a month. Yet you would continue to stay in the place that's killing you while you wait out this lawsuit that's going on.
Right.
Well, she loses because they said that she had failed to submit to her landlord any evidence that there was a problem before the problem became so large that it was going to cause her health problems. So the lease had said there are certain requirements to staying here. One of those things is as soon as there's a problem, you need to let us know so we can fix it. She'd failed to do that and then was angry that there was a problem that she'd never asked for help to fix. Additionally, she left the windows open when the air conditioning was running, et cetera, et cetera. So she had been complicit.
And the technicians went in and they did an evaluation. And that's what they came up with, the HVAC. And they had some specialists come in to test the mold and all of that because it was so bad. It was all over the apartment. I mean, it looked like a horror zone, right? And they were like, okay, she's been running the air, but would leave the doors, like the windows and stuff open, which created condensation on the inside of the apartment. And you're talking about what? Up north, where it's a lot cooler. And the question is, why would you do that, Candace? It's like fundamental science goes over your head, girl. You know, like that same science you would need to prove if someone's born a man. You can't make this up.
in the growing of the black mold in her own home, but she wanted it to be their fault that there was black mold. And then when she wants to submit proof that she is suffering from black mold, she doesn't submit any proof that a doctor has connected these two things. And then she wants to stay in the place that's killing her for 6 months without paying rent.
Right.
I mean, this is such a dishonest person.
Right.
This is not a person who knows how to tell the truth. This is a person who has had a history of being whatever anybody needed her to be in the moment to receive a paycheck. So are we surprised that she's profiting off of the death of her friend? And for Megyn Kelly to decide that whatever's going on with this extremely popular voice in the conservative space or the former conservative space, and to think that Candace Owens' deterioration from being a relatively palatable person to somebody who is spewing evil.
That's a good question, Diane. Was she ever getting government assistance benefits? I don't know. You live somewhere 6 months and not pay your rent. I wouldn't be shocked if she tried to apply for something. Because otherwise, Candace, I thought you believed in pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, girl. Candace is such a liar. This is not even funny.
Lies and making up wild stories is not a trajectory or an arc that she would care to comment on. Is shocking that she would have such a lapse in her journalistic integrity.
Yep.
If it's on the right and it's wrong, then it's still wrong. I don't care if you're conservative. If there's somebody that's telling lies, you have to say that's not true. And it's honestly okay to say Candace is lying to you. But if your job is to comment on what's going on, then comment on this person who's been a historic liar, historically hysterical, historically litigious. Let's talk about that person who always has to make a mountain out of a molehill, who will connect facts that don't even mean anything, who will make up lies out of whole cloth just to sell a narrative. Did you know that she said that the NRA was a club that was created to teach black people how to use guns so they could defend themselves during Jim Crow?
The NRA started as a civil rights organization, training black Americans to arm themselves and defend themselves against the KKK.
What? Oh, God. You gotta be shitting me. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. I don't know. Sure, keep going. You keep going.
No, it's not. The NRA was established to teach Union soldiers how to shoot properly. It was like a sharpshooting club for the Union soldiers. Like, it wasn't to help black people with Jim Crow. But she'll just say crazy things like that. She just makes up whole lies. This is a person who got in trouble with TPUSA because she downplayed Hitler and said that he was a problematic person because he wanted to expand his ideas outside of Germany, but all he really wanted to do was make Germany a better place. What are you talking about? This is a person who tries to tell us that the Star of David is a satanic symbol.
Oh, God.
She's a clown. She can't be taken seriously at all. And for Megyn Kelly to act like it's not worthy of her commentary, that she doesn't opine on whether it's evil or not.
The NRA was established to teach black people how to defend themselves during Jim Crow. Candace, where did you get that information from? Who told you that? Which voice in your head told you that whole lie that you should return back to the pits of hell where you got that from? Return that lie to sender. Nobody lied to Candace that bad but the devil. Candace, and I'm inclined to believe that I don't think you need the devil's help line that bad. You probably make that up by yourself. You can't make this up. Candace, who told you that? Seriously, who told you that the NRA was only designed during Jim Crow to help black people learn how to shoot? What? As if guns didn't exist before then, or the NRA. You can just look up the history of the NRA. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this up. Oh, dear God. What? I'm so floored at what I'm hearing. Candace, oh man, you're such a joke, girl. All right, continue on, Cheer.
Continually lie to people and confuse people in this already incredibly difficult place to understand information. For her to act like her job isn't to comment and to clarify and to set people straight, then what are you even